This is another example of why I hate DEI hires. I hate DEI students. I hate anything that's forced. What this is forced integration, again, between two cultures that are diametrically opposed. Black culture and American culture cannot coexist. Black culture celebrates death. American culture tries its best to prevent it. That's why none of this makes any sense to Americans. But if you're black, this makes perfect sense. He should be at an HBCU where he will be more comfortable. In a way, those are going to be reservations for them, plantations, a safe space where they can be around their own kind. And we don't have to worry about them mixing into our society and spreading violence. The amount of hate and anger that it takes for you to celebrate one's death indicates a certain level of psychopathy. The reason we didn't vote for Hillary Clinton was because when it came time to go into the ballot box, you're either going to vote for the guy from The Apprentice or you're going to vote for that lady that had that weird giggle when she found out Gaddafi was killed. We, yes, you have a freedom of speech, but based on what you say, I have the freedom to keep me and my children away from you, to protect me and my family from you. All cultures do not belong together, they cannot coexist. This is another example of why there must be a separation, or you're going to continue to have situations like the girl on the train, or I mean, think about it. At the HBCUs, barely a week ago, we saw over 10 murders at different events. 3 days later, nobody cares. But in America, when you hear about mass shootings at schools, we once because Americans we value life. The group that this man's a part of, black culture, they do not share those same values. He's a DEI plant in the school. We know this for a fact that they lower their standards to seem more diverse because these kids don't have the grades, they don't have the intellect. I don't know if you guys saw the debate where they had the two black girls versus these other schools, and the black girls won. And you're like, really? They must have been, exceptional. You go watch the debate, and your nose begins to bleed from the aneurysm that just listening to these two fucking morons speak gives you. But again, this whole DEI comes it's downward from the top. It's ESG. Even if your school has a large endowment like a Stanford or a Princeton or an Oxford, they even still get loans from banks. And when the banks said, hey, you're going to need to make sure your ESG score is high, then that means they have to ramp up their DEI to make everything more diverse. But by diverse, all they just mean is less straight white males. And who is this man celebrating the death of a what? Straight white male. People think that how I talk about things and how Rico explains it all is harsh, but I'm being honest with you. I'm talking to you. I'm saying the things to you that everybody else is afraid to say. I'm speaking to you like it's just me and you in a room talking. Because for me, it is. There's no one here. I'm not worried about being a part of their cult. I've never experienced the warmth of their cult. If I got to say a bunch of crazy things just for you guys to think that I'm cool or be one of you or come to your barbecue, fuck you and your barbecue. Why would I? Your barbecue is going to get shot up anyway. Don't invite me with not even a barbecue, the cookout. I'm not coming to your cookout. I'm not. It's like there's going to be violence there. Someone's going to get stabbed or shot. You can't even play spades and dominoes together. So for them to celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk, a man with children, a successful man, a man who wanted to talk, who was rather brilliant. And this guy actually debated Charlie, and he shows up wearing pajamas. He's a loser. He's a bum. Matter of fact, he should have been at a junior college. I wouldn't even say he should have been at an HBCU. But I don't know, maybe he wasn't gay enough for the HBCUs. We know what those black schools require. Oh, Rico, how can you say that? And I'm like, have you people never met anybody black? I have. You don't know the percentage of them, how many is gay? Or when you go to these schools, you have to submit to them. You have to, their ideology, you have to say you agree with it. To be black is to be gay. You have to date a trans person. There is none of this whole being straight. You go, oh, I'm straight. I don't do, oh, you're a Trump supporter. You're not even allowed to be in those spaces. You can't show up with a MAGA hat like I have on and even have debates with these people. They don't belong in American society. They've never participated in polite society. We've literally built up society around them, but their existence is literally pulling us down as a whole. I think now parents are like, look, I've shut up. I didn't want to be called racist, but I don't care anymore. I don't want someone who's celebrating murder as my class president. Besides, we don't even know his grades. We don't know how he got pulled into Oxford. He obviously didn't earn it. He's here based on how he looks. He checks all the boxes. Maybe he did check the gay box. Maybe he's too gay for HBCU, which but when you meet people that share his point of view, the reason they hate people like Charlie, the reason they hate people like Trump is because of law and order. Charlie was a proponent of police. So was Trump. A lot of these people, when you're a part of this lifestyle where you're gay and you're black, the whole pedophile situation is a real thing. It's a real orientation, being a MAP, a minor attracted person. Those people want you to affirm them. They want acceptance. They want to be brought into the cult. The LGBTQ, the black, those cults have mixed together. The MAPs want in. They want protection. But to do that, you have to say, well, your sexuality, where you want kids, it's no longer going to be criminalized. We're going to affirm it, and it's going to be protected as a sexual orientation, and no one can discriminate against you based on your sexual orientation due to the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Us conservatives will tell you, fuck no. We'll never say we're going to decriminalize having sex with children. Now, in California, they did. That was supposed to spread to the rest of the country. People like Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk speaking out about it. It's curved now. And now it's actually, California might even not be able to maintain such a law where, and you guys might not know this, but because you're my audience, I'm going to tell you. In California, if you're a gay man, 50 years old, and you're caught with a 12-year-old boy, if the 12-year-old boy says that he's gay too, because they're both of the same sexual orientation, you won't have to register on the sex offenders list and ruin your life. That's what they've done. And what they did was it was a man who's was a senator from California. I know it sounds funny. His last name is Weiner. Look it up. He said that laws against statutory rape were disproportionately affecting people from the LGBT, whatever the hell community. And they were able to decriminalize pedophilia. And that was the goal, to spread it over the country. Charlie Kirk stopped it. So now everyone's mad. But when you go to the rallies, everyone who's not black is either gay. Everyone who's not black that's gay is gay, or they're a MAP. And the other ones remaining are just a handful of black people that, I mean, I'm surprised they even show up to that. They don't show up to shit else. They don't show up to the parent-teachers meetings for their kids, but it's whatever. Let's listen to what they say about this guy's situation at Oxford. I mean, he shouldn't have been there in the first place, but I'll be honest, I think he's done. I think parents are tired of just being quiet and going along to get along, and that's how they should be. You got to protect your kids from these people.
Oxford Union President-elect George Abaraonye faces a pivotal moment as he confronts a vote of no confidence after leaked messages surfaced in which he appeared to celebrate the death of American political activist Charlie Kirk. According to messages leaked to the press, Abaraonye wrote in a WhatsApp group, "Charlie Kirk got shot, let's effing go." And in a separate message on Instagram, "Charlie Kirk got shot, LOL." The remarks rapidly spread online, triggering fierce backlash and calls for Abaraonye's resignation from both inside and outside of Oxford.
I'm just saying, as somebody who still loves the Oxford Union as an institution that defends free speech, that you cannot be the president of the Oxford Union at the same time as reveling in the political assassination of the people you invite to speak at it. It is simply impossible for him to take over I think it's 3 weeks' time he takes over. For him to take over as president of that institution, he has to resign.
In response to mounting criticism, including demands for expulsion from the former Prime Minister Liz Truss, Abaraonye appeared on the What's Left podcast to address the controversy.
There have been many calls on both sides. Some have called for my resignation. Many have called for me to stay. There's been large scale support statements that have come out. And at the end of the day, I'm at the behest of the membership,
He later went.
Let me let's talk about it for a second. What type of job do these black kids who go to these universities, what kind of careers do they go into once they graduate? If they graduate, what do they end up doing? Because what's the purpose of going to university? Aren't you supposed to go to these schools so that you can learn and become prepared to enter the workforce? Isn't that what this is supposed to do? Prepare you to go into a career so that you can begin your adult life? Let me ask you, where in this world can someone leave a university who hates white people or straight white men? Somebody who celebrates death? Where can they go and get a job and become gainfully employed long term? What company is itching to hire someone like this? This is Oxford, which is in the UK, but it's the same across the pond over here. You know how many black kids I know went to these universities, ran up $100K plus in debt, and they never had intentions on working anywhere, any career aspirations. They just went to school just to get out the house and have somewhere to go. They're not there to learn. They're not there. This is a world where there's a lot of society is mixed together. If you hate white people, but yet English is a white language, you speak it. The UK is a white country. You live there, or you live in the United States, also a white country with a white president. The majority of the people here are white. If you hate these people, where are you supposed to work? I meet black kids that went to these HBCUs. I never really meet any that have gainful employment, or they have a lot of debt. A lot of them do, promotion or something like that. They're not working. None of their, if they went for a degree or whatever their major, they're not working in a career from that. They have the debt, and then they don't want to pay the student loans. Well, they can't afford to. Wherever they're working after they leave school, it's not paying enough to afford it. When you go to an HBCU and you're surrounded by black people, the real world is not surrounded by black people. So if you can only get along and survive and only be comfortable around black people, then what are you going to do when you walk into the real world and it's not a black world? What do you do? What was this guy? What was his major? What are his plans for after school? He is going to be an activist. He's going to say how racist the society is, how racist the school is, how racist everything. That's all. It's a grift. It's a scam. It's a hustle. But to meet these diversity quotas, they had to let these people in. Now in the US, we're done with it. We've moved past DEI. But in the UK, I guess that's still the law of the land. Until it isn't, until it's not. The parents want him gone. The alumni want him gone. There's no use for him. He's not going to leave here and eventually become the CEO of a big company. He hates the employees. He hates white people in general. Oh, Charlie Kirk's no different than most people, especially most white people. Conservative values. You have children, take care of your families. You believe in God, but you want him dead. So who else do you want dead? The answer is any and everybody who's white. I've surveyed thousands of black people in the United States. Because I talk to people. I talk to everybody. I'm Rico. I'm a big dude. We can talk. But I'm not like the other conservatives. I slap the dog shit out you. I'm not nonviolent. You know, if you start, you put your hands on me or you threaten me, it's up right then. I'm not waiting for you to. That's that. So that's the difference between me and some of the other conservatives. But I ask people and I talk to them. You scratch the surface, they'll tell you, I hate white people. I hate everything white. I want them all dead. We should wipe. They'd say the most. It's on my Facebook. Go to my Facebook, Rico Limbaugh. These people leave comments in my and they feel comfortable saying it out loud. See, if you were white, you couldn't say, "Oh, I want to wipe all these black." You couldn't say it. But as a black person, you can literally talk about violence against white people ad nauseum. You won't get a flag. You won't get censored on Facebook. Nothing. It's like they're setting the conditions for a conflict that this man right here won't survive. They're not. And I think they're doing it on purpose because they want these people to pretty much suicide themselves. They want these people to get themselves wiped out. They want to see it happen. Because why else would you embolden somebody like him to say something like this and then to not immediately punish him? Why is this even a debate? I'll let him finish.
And on to add, if the membership want to see me continue, then I would love to continue, but I'd be gutted if I couldn't carry on. I think it would be a massive loss for me, for a lot of people, to see that capitulation to online pressure. Referring to the backlash after the news of his remarks came to light, he said, "The first couple of days were so difficult. Suddenly you're hated. I had a lot of people hurling abuse at me, people turning up at my parents' shop. I was low-key scared to leave the house for days on end. It's really difficult." Abaraonye also criticised the scrutiny from public figures like Elon Musk and Liz Truss, describing it as insane, and accused those on the right of weaponising cancel culture. "I don't want this to be the end for me. I had big aspirations of wanting to improve the world around me." Facing the threat of direct action from Turning Point UK, the organisation.
Bullshit. Improve the world around you how? By celebrating how does you celebrating the death of a father, of a man who's for just basically for his speech, you celebrating his death, how was that going to improve the world around you? See, in your worldview, you're going to have to kill a bunch of us to improve the world around you in your image. I remember there was somebody who had a similar view and the world to this day demonizes him. But yet, because he's black, he's allowed to say these things and no one corrects him. And he's appalled that he's going to be punished, reprimanded. You know what's crazy? When people say the United States, we don't make anything anymore, so we don't have any exports. But we do. See, we exported this culture of victimhood to black people around the world. I'm listening to this kid who's from the UK using lingo that we have here in the United States. And let him tell it, he's also a victim of slavery, even though he's from the UK and not from the United States or from Jamaica or something, or any of these other places that claim slavery. Here he is pretending to be a victim if you ask him. They in polite society, it's never worked. Here in the United States, we've tried to integrate with them for almost 200 years. It's never worked one single day, and going forward, it will never work, ever. Now, don't get me wrong, measures have been taken to mitigate this problem, but that's still a few years out before we see the final results. But until then, we're going to have to literally coexist, and it's getting harder and harder to do so. He has to go. You cannot allow somebody who celebrates death to be around your children because they also would celebrate the death of your kids. You got to put this whole fear of being shamed, you got to get that out of your mind. You can't be afraid of somebody calling you a name. That's how they control you. Oh, if you don't do this, I'm going to call you a racist. If you don't say that, I'm going to call you racist. If you don't jump through this hoop and bark like a dog on one leg, I'm going to call you a name. You're an adult. You have to be stronger than that. You can't be so damn weak. You know, I feel sorry for these parents because they're in a rock and a hard place. But tough decisions are going to have to be made.
Organization founded by Charlie Kirk, Abaraonye is under more pressure.
We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe?
I wanted to actually bring up a little bit of his debate with Charlie Kirk, so you can see how much of a fool he is. So let's see here. I wanted to just go straight. This is one of them. No, he was dressed like a hobo. There we go.
Well, we're joined now in the studio by political commentators Chloe Dobbs and Andy Williams. Good morning.
The Oxford aspect as an alum. Firstly, this is about political violence, and there is a big question as to whether there is a rise in political violence as a result of political polarization. And if that's the case, that is incredibly concerning. I was concerned by Donald Trump's comments, which I think were more divisive than they needed to be. I think a president of the United States should come out and say this is a time for the nation to come together. The other thing,
you're not the president of the United States. You're a gay man in the UK. You don't get to say what a president in our country should say. How the fuck would you know? If you knew better, you do better. You're not a prime minister. You're confused. You can look at these people and tell their orientation. You can tell a lot about them just by their appearance, because they all kind of have a look to them. This man is the reason he hates Trump. I just gave the reasons why all the gays hate Trump. It's about the kids. He shined a lot of lights on kids being abducted and what they do to the kids when they abduct them, and trafficking. The reason the word trafficking became such a huge thing the last few years is because Trump actually talked about it as a president. Nobody had ever spoke about it publicly in a position that high in government, ever. And they've literally demonized Trump ever since then. I remember I used to be one of those people that hated Trump too. And then I seen him getting off of a helicopter, and he was describing how when they're trafficking the kids into the United States, how they do it. I never knew that the reason that the gay men on CNN were telling me to hate Trump. I'm like, because I started thinking about it, like, it's a whole lot of gay people that hate this guy. What did he do? And wait a minute, I'm not gay. I live a different lifestyle than these people. So why am I listening to him? Why am I listening to them? Why am I listening to Don Lemon? Who the fuck is Don Lemon? Why we live in different worlds. He's into stuff that I'm not into. People say, oh, you can't stereotype Rico. All of them aren't into kids. There's one group that's not into kids. It's called Gays Against Groomers. You should follow them on Instagram. The reason they had to come out with a thing called Gays Against Groomers is because there's so few of them. You don't come up with an organization because there's a lot of you, because you're the norm. No, the norm is grooming kids. They had to come up with an organization that said, hey, we're different than the rest of them. We don't want to groom kids. We don't let me see here. Yeah, we're not trying to groom kids. That's not our goal. So what are you saying? So who's that the goal for? They're pretty much the rest of them. So they're going to all, and remember, the gays and the blacks have a common interest. They have a common enemy, which are straight white men. Because if you're caught messing with kids, a straight white man in a uniform is going to come arrest you. If you're caught shoplifting, stealing, and shooting at events, and and being a criminal, and you're black, a straight white man in a uniform is going to come arrest you. So they kind of have that in common. That's why they hate straight white men. So that's why he's defending this guy and talking bad on Trump, even though he doesn't live. You shouldn't. I couldn't tell you the prime minister of the UK. I wouldn't give a shit. But they all care about Trump because, well, we're the tip of the spear.
Is we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is gun violence in America. And there were 47,000 gun-related deaths in America in 2023. And in the UK, there were 24. Now, even if you adjust per head of population, that's 391 times as many gun deaths. This is an American problem.
In America, we have a problem with crime. We have a problem with entitled people who don't want to work, who feel that other people, because they're white, owe them free stuff. They say we should go into stores and steal for reparations. We should be able to break into your house and do home invasion robberies. When white people defend themselves and people die, they want to criminalize it. So if you take all the guns away in the United States, that's not going to decrease gun deaths. That's just going to create more gun victims. People don't understand. He's looking at these numbers, but for one thing, he's being disingenuous. You can't say the deaths are, so what, they're gun-related deaths. How many knife deaths do you have? If you're defending yourself against another violent person, it happens. We have the right to bear arms. And with freedom comes responsibility. You do have a responsibility to protect yourself and your family. And if that is from another person with guns, so be it. But if you didn't have guns, they would have knives. I mean, it's what's the difference? In the UK, you guys are being held hostage by immigrants right now. Your whole country's being invaded by the third world, by Islamists, and you guys have lost everything. If you want to see white people in the UK, you got to turn on the fucking news. They're not on the streets. They're not. I've been to London. I've been to Cardiff Bay. I've been through the UK. You have to literally find them. The only place you're going to see them on TV. I remember I used to live in France. I would turn on the TV. I see white people speaking French, and I'm like, wow. I open up the window and look out of my hotel room. It's Atlanta in French. I see 2 Chainz. I see the Migos. Black as fuck everywhere. And then I turn on the TV, boom, white people. And I'm like, why doesn't the TV reflect the outside? Where do these white people live in France? I don't see them. You'll see white women with black men, but you don't see white men anywhere. Same thing with the UK. Don't give us advice. You guys are in a position to give us advice. You've lost everything. We're not taking your advice, bro. We're Americans. America first. I'm sorry. I didn't have to go off on this little rant, but I hate when I see these people on these interviews you can't shame us. You're doing worse than us. You guys are socialists for the most part, equally poor. You can't give us advice on them. You should take advice on how to be better. You just don't have the option because you don't have guns. That's your bad.
And it is a sickness, and it has to stop.
Chloe, you pretty much broke this story yesterday. I'm very proud of you.
That fucking guy, you look at him. He's ready to flame on. You think he was a Fantastic Four? So goddamn flaming. And he wants to sit here and tell us about what we should do better. You don't go take your PrEP pill.
You obviously got all the inside scoop on what's going on in the Oxford Union, being a former student yourself. This has sent shockwaves through the union, hasn't it? I know the union current administration, which is outgoing. So just for the audience's sake, just explain to us what the union is actually. Perhaps that will be a good place to start and then take it from there for us.
Yeah, so the Oxford Union is often known as the best debating society in the world. And to quote their own words, they consider themselves to be the last bastion of free speech. They have been very committed to platforming controversial people. I was there when Kathleen Stock came and spoke, and there was a huge campaign to try and get...
I want to call bullshit again. There is nothing in the UK that could ever be considered the bastion of free speech anymore. There are literally thousands of white UK citizens in jail for just tweets and posts they put on Facebook that were against immigration. If you say something online that is considered offensive, you will be receiving a knock at a door and you will be arrested. You will be picked up. They'll take you away for posting your opinion about immigration or immigrants on the internet if you're in the UK. And you have the nerve to say Oxford is one of the last bastions of free speech. The fact that you have the ability to lie like this it should be studied. It's amazing. This is insane. And she knows she's lying. But these people don't have the option. They don't have a First Amendment. She can't tell the truth or she'll lose her job and she'll get arrested too. There are literally thousands that have been arrested all throughout Europe. That's why they said we're closer to the Russians culturally than we are to Europe, the Europeans, because they don't believe in free speech. So for her to say that while living in a country that's arresting people for their tweets is her being disingenuous and basically just lying, just lip service. It's ridiculous, but listen, but look at what we're dealing with around the world. No one can even tell the truth anymore.
That event cancelled, but they went ahead and they stood by their principles. But now what seems to be happening is we've got a president-elect, so he will be president-elect for the autumn and due to be the president in January. he appeared in what we have in screenshots of the General Committee chat on WhatsApp and on his Instagram to be celebrating Charlie Kirk being shot in a very degrading manner, saying Charlie Kirk got shot lol, and even swearing on WhatsApp.
Let's bleep go.
Yes, and why this? I've seen loads of lefty liberal idiots on Instagram and TikTok celebrating.
The man on the left is a genuine, a complete, legit, intelligent, sophisticated person with proper points, arguments, and he's open to debating and listening to the other side. He believed that everybody should have a voice. The guy on the right's a worthless piece of shit who showed up in pajamas. Not enough self-respect to even properly come dressed for the event. Charlie Kirk's wearing a suit. He respects the institution. He respects the school. He respects he respects the opportunity to come to Oxford and be allowed to speak. The other one on the right takes it for granted. You don't know if when he leaves here, he's going to go get a burger and go smoke some weed somewhere. It's ridiculous. And why would you even let them compare each other? Why would you even debate them? The other guy doesn't have a debate, but we're going to listen to what they have to say. It should start shortly once this lady stops lying.
Charlie Kirk's death, and that is concerning for me. But the reason why this really concerns me is this is the man who is due to be the president of an association that is committed to free speech and allowing people who have controversial views to be heard, not to wish death upon them. And the reason why it's particularly concerning is because I think it's a safety concern. You have big speakers like Jordan Peterson go and speak at the Oxford Union, right? Is Jordan Peterson going to want to go and speak knowing that the president, he is trusting with his safety, might wish death upon him?
Well, this is the problem I have.
Even though she lied a lot, this last part was true. Why would somebody like Jordan Peterson or any other intellect in the world want to go to a school where the president has publicly celebrated the murder of another intellect who wanted to have debates and speak freely about his thoughts on society and politics? Well, they wouldn't. And if the school elects this person as your president-elect and he stays on, well, then you just chose a side. You chose the side of somebody who celebrates death, who has zero appreciation for life. Culturally, his people don't appreciate life. Trust me, they go around killing each other every single day. That's just what they do. It's a pastime. They make songs and dances about it. The problem is when they branch out and they start going after the rest of us. Now it's a problem and we notice, but this is something that we should have been dealt with. But she's absolutely right. Why would anybody trust to come to this school knowing that the president there supports somebody killing you? But it's not just you. These people support anyone who's white being killed. The only type of white people they even tolerate are gay white people. But if you're straight and you're a white man, or you're a white woman and you're straight, these people want you dead. I want to hear what he says against Charlie Kirk. Where is that interview where he's actually, I have it. Charlie Kirk. Let's see here, debates man.
A few months ago, Charlie Kirk engaged in a debate with a man who would later celebrate his death.
This is the man who is due to be the president of an...
Validity for sure.
Hypermedication of young men from in the core curriculum in America. We learn about toxic masculinity.
This is so ironic because when we cut back to the...
his own.
We never talk about toxic femininity. Do you agree that there's toxic femininity as well?
I mean, I think it's an unfair double standard.
Why?
Well,
how can femininity not be toxic if masculinity can?
I'm not saying they can't be. I think
Do we teach kids about toxic femininity in our schools? No, tell me yes or no.
I mean, I think that they come from two very different places. I think toxic masculinity comes from a level of misogyny, where I think toxic femininity often comes from a reaction to a misogynistic system, which fundamentally oppresses and systematically oppresses women.
According to his logic, the system must be destroyed.
Some institutions are too broken, too aggressive, too oppressive to be reformed. Like cancers of our society, they must and they should be taken down by any means necessary.
You know, it's funny. If you want to listen to these people and take them seriously, you know, there are countries that have listened to these people and you can go to them And you can get an example and see how successful these nations have been under leadership like this guy right here. When you listen to them, you can go to Africa. You can go to any country in Africa, and there are people like him who hate white people, who believe that the system must be destroyed, it must be broken, blah, 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 blah. Go down there and go see how they're living. How are their societies? Are they prosperous? Are they successful? No. They are societies of victims. They consider themselves victims. They blame others for their problems. Even when they have independence from colonialism, they still harp on white people and they still blame them for all their problems. This guy wants to break down a system, but he doesn't have a better system that he can bring in and put in its place. There's nothing he has ready right now that he can present in its stead that's going to function properly. What he's calling for is the same thing what the blacks in the United States are calling for, a system of communism where they're going to be in control. That's all they want. It's power. But when you give them power, what do they do with it? Well, go look at Nigeria. Go look at Kenya. Go look at the Democratic Republic of Congo. Go take a look. Would you live in any of those places? No. Those people's families migrated to the UK and to the United States. And one generation later, here goes their kids talking about, let's turn this place into the place we had to flee from. How's that sound? Good idea. If you feel the system here is oppressive and misogynistic and all these other buzzwords, why do you choose to live in it? You can't explain to me that you're oppressed in a society that has airports. Every day we have planes that leave these countries. You can get on one and leave. You're not oppressed if you choose to be somewhere. That's not oppression. You choose to live there. Then you're not oppressed. You're oppressed is when you're stuck somewhere, you're trapped, you're held down. No one's stopping you from leaving. So you're not oppressed. So, and then it's crazy. His mindset is an American one. It was exported over there. That victimhood mindset is what we are, because see, unfortunately, the poison of Black culture in America is spread through language. They speak English. So if you look at a map, anywhere that speaks English in other countries, the victim mindset has spread around to the people, especially if they're Black, and it's literally destroying their societies. I was looking at a video from South Africa, and they were listening to violent rap music, but it's all in English. They speak English. All this whole victimhood mentality, all this, it's all being spread from American culture through the English language. Other nations that don't speak English, with the exception of French, of course, they're not having this whole situation with the victimhood culture taking over their society. There's a direct correlation. This guy is going to be kicked out of Oxford. He doesn't deserve to be there. The question is, how soon before they get rid of the rest? None of them should be there. They should be in their own separate institutions around their own people. They're not going to fit into civilized society. They're going to just complain and they're going to blame you for everything. And their whole thing is just to shame you into submission. But how much of that can a society take before it just snaps? We're at our wits' end over here in the United States. You're going to want to do something about this like we did. We cut off DEI. We cut off affirmative action. We're even cutting off food stamps in 2 weeks. We're literally cutting the rope with these people. If they don't like this society, if it's not going to work for them, find another home. You're either going to become an American or you're going to become a migrant. You're going to migrate somewhere else. You're just not going to be able to do it here. You can go celebrate death of Charlie Kirk and anybody. You can go celebrate the death of everybody you want to from outside of our borders. You're not going to be able to do it from within here. We have a country to save. America first. America only. MAGA. I'm right-wing Rico, the single boyfriend. Rico, Rush Limbaugh. Like and subscribe. Share the video. If you have any other thoughts or opinions, please leave them. I appreciate all the follows. I appreciate all the new followers as well. We'll play a little bit more of this video. I wanted to see, because he keeps cutting them off, I wanted to see if this debate's going to go any further, but
The conflation of what actually is evil. You got to be careful about how you direct that aim.
And I'm not saying that toxic femininity is a good thing, but I'm saying it's a much more understood and valid reaction to a system of oppression.
It's not a good thing, but it is understandable because it's fighting back against oppression. Well, where are we seeing that?
Versus toxic masculinity, which oppresses.
Okay. So even if I grant you that, are they teaching toxic? Is that term ever been used in a school that you know of?
What term?
Toxic femininity?
No, it's not.
Oh, that's weird. How does that sound to a dock worker in Brighton or someone in Essex? We need to make things more feminine? No. Okay. Instead, we need to restore the balance that God created man and women. And right now, and by the way, you want an example? Adolescence. How does that movie Adolescence not broadly generalize a theme that, first of all, doesn't exist? Secondly, is like a slow motion, like humiliation ritual for the young boys of Britain.
So eerie to hear this now, because that's exactly what happened to the guy who killed Charlie.
I don't think adolescence is a generalization. We are not saying that every young boy in the UK is like this. We're not saying every young boy goes through this process. It's an example of what can happen when people fall into this kind of media. I think it's like, and it's more of a story or a warning to what can happen to people that, you know, fall into these bubbles, who don't find the help that they necessarily need, that can turn violent.
The irony is that the reality was the exact opposite to the narrative being pushed in adolescence.
Do you think men will be generally happier if they're married, providing, and have children?
I don't think that's a necessary factor to contribute to this happiness.
What is your solution to bring about male happiness in the West? Mine is men get married, have children, and provide. What is yours?
That's a big question.
Just because you have a British accent doesn't mean you're smart. This guy is proof of that. He's not considering what would make a man happy, because everything is about being a victim. He needs to check every box. He needs to be black. He needs to be gay. He needs to be effeminate. He needs to be trans. He has to be all the above, or he has no identity and he has nothing. Besides doing what I do, which is getting on the internet and complaining, where else can a man who whines about the world, where are you going to work? What are you going to do to support yourself? Where can you make a living complaining about how much you hate white people because straight white men oppress you because they don't even know you, but yet they're oppressing you? Where can you, with that worldview, right? Where are you going to work? Who's going to hire you? What are you going to do? Where on earth is that worldview going to serve you? Because I look around, even in the United States, the African-American community is they're even further down the totem pole than the immigrant community that doesn't even speak the language. And it all stems from this victimhood mentality. As far as I can tell, there is nowhere that a victimhood mentality is going to serve you, but I could be wrong. I'm open to any suggestions. If anybody can tell me where a man who complains about white people can work and be gainfully employed and excel, I'd love to hear it. If anybody can just type it in the comments, I'll definitely read it, and I'll read it out loud now. Oh, and thank you to Jonathan Myers for the Cash App. Thank you very much. He sent me a $5 Cash App. He said thank you. He bought me a coffee. Yeah, and that's about the price of coffee here in Arizona. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Jonathan.
Just the image here, the juxtaposition could not be more different.
I think an affirmation of their emotions, their emotional states.
How do you apply that to someone who's feeling something invalid? Not all behavior is good. It's not all malleable.
An openness to allowing men to express themselves in whichever way they want, even if that is in a more effeminate way, or a Western typically effeminate way.
With all due respect, have you been to London the last 10 years? Men can do whatever they want.
I live in.
Are they happier? Men can dress how they want. Men can act how they want. And go to any club. Has it worked?
Yeah, but also we've had austerity.
Austerity being similar to poverty, claiming it's economic.
You're scrambling for an excuse to get away from the truth that's right in front of you. So I would just ask you to think over the next couple of days, months, or years, why is it that men in countries that barely have toilets and do not have 2 pounds to rub together, but they do have kids and they do have a wife, are much happier than someone with a big flat in downtown London?
Charlie's absolutely correct. Again, this kid is 20 years old, and he thinks that the gay lifestyle is going to push him away further in life. Why do you think most of them never live past the age of 34? Because they wake up typically sometimes around 33, and you realize you're never going to have a wife, you're never going to have children, and the gay stuff you did and when you were a teenager and in your 20s, you know, you're committed to that lifestyle. There is no going back. There's no wiping away the stuff you were doing when you were a leftist and, you know, trying to fit in. And the realization that you're never going to have a family, you're never going to have children, you're never going to have a wife. And they just say, you know what, let me just reset and try it again. Let me start over. Let me start the game over again. And it's done. Rarely do they make it. Let's say sometimes they get a wife and they have a secret lifestyle, then they'll live. You know, some of them are too chicken shit to self-delete. But the other ones, I have friends, and I was like, what happened? They're like, yeah, he killed himself. And you're like, for why? And then I start thinking about his lifestyle. I never seen him with a woman. I never seen him with a woman. Known him 15 years. I seen him. I think he had a girlfriend once. Never met her. No kids. You know, he goes out, parties, but nothing comes from it. No relationships, no woman. That life, you know, humans have lived a certain way since the beginning of time. So you trying to reinvent the wheel, it's not going to work. It never does. That's why those people are so angry and so miserable. And once one day they wake up and they grew out of all that stuff, you can't grow out of your past. Your past follows you. It's a part of you. No matter if you're ashamed of it, and even if you move to a new city and you change your name, nowadays it'll follow you. Your ex-boyfriend, you're like, wait a minute, you used to be gay? Then you got to explain that to your girlfriend, your wife. I mean, what was the producer, the guy from Ellen? That's what happened to him. You know, he had that in his past and he couldn't live with himself. Man had a wife and kids and he still couldn't live with himself. This all ties into pushing this gay agenda. It ties into the depopulation agenda because it's way more efficient if the country you want to go to war with, instead of you actually having to fight them in battle and kill them, if you can just manipulate them till they're strong and brave men, just start to kill themselves, that makes a lot more sense. And it's cheaper. It's more, it's definitely logistically a lot easier to do that than it is to fight a battle, because what if you lose? We're dealing with that in the United States. And only since Trump has came into office, now we're pushing back. All of a sudden, magically, they said the children that identify as gay or trans, those numbers have plummeted just in the past 6 months since Trump came back into office. You need masculinity. You need men. This guy right here is, not only does he look like an embarrassment, Charlie Kirk embarrassed him. Charlie Kirk made him look like a small idiot. And it's funny, they were Charlie talking about Brighton workers and rub 2 pounds together. That's hilarious because he's using language that people in the UK would know. He's not saying dollars. He's not being an arrogant American. He's actually respecting their culture and he's respecting their system and using it. He's not talking about feet and yards. You know, he's probably talking about kilometers and stuff, if anything. But it's just to watch this guy get destroyed, and he's such a fucking pussy and coward that he celebrated Charlie dying so that he wouldn't have to debate Charlie again and get embarrassed all over again. Fucking coward.
Something to think about.
I mean, I think happiness is difficult to conflate in that sense. I mean, there are other reasons.
They're less likely to kill themselves. Forget all these happiness indexes. If you kill yourself, you're not happy, right?
That's crazy. I'm just talking about men committing suicide and people killing themselves. And this is the next thing that comes up. I've never seen this interview. I've never watched this debate. This kid never popped up on my radar, but it's just, look how pathetic and weak this boy is. And you want him to be the president of your student alumni of Oxford just because you want to get a diversity quota and your ESG score based on your DEI numbers? Fuck out of here.
So these poor countries do not have male suicide problems. Why?
I do not know.
Think about it. Thank you very much.
Make no mistake, that shooter.
What a punk. He didn't shake his hand. He didn't bow out gracefully. He walked off like a coward he is. Of course he's not going to be the class president. He can't be. He's an embarrassment to the school, and he should be removed. Hopefully he is. I just wanted to play this video based on this subject.
In a way, similar to suicide, he was throwing his life away. He might get the death penalty. So it's eerie to see Charlie addressing that very thing.
By the way, I don't agree with anything saying Tyler Robinson did anything to Charlie Kirk. I don't believe any of those theories. Neither do the FBI. The evidence doesn't support it. So no, I'm not going to sit here and say Tyler Robinson is guilty because he's dating. For one thing, he's heavily autistic. I don't know if anybody's ever heard him speak, but he wasn't a smart, clever person. It's crazy. How do you meet a 22-year-old person that doesn't have any Instagram or Facebook videos talking to the camera? That's weird. In 2025, there's one video where he's reading his acceptance letter into a school, but you can tell he's autistic. You can tell he can barely, he's there, but he's not there. He's on the spectrum. He physically he's 22, but he's probably like 13 mentally. But you want to expect me to believe that he was MacGyver on ceilings and rolling around and tucking stuff and then changing. Man, get out of here. None of that makes sense. And why was there a trapdoor under Charlie in the first place? Why would you set up to do your event right there? Why did they take down all the cameras? Why is his shirt moving up and then all of a sudden something like none of this is, no one's addressing any of these problems. I don't want to hear it. But I do videos about that. Mr. Let Go, Candace Owens, we're all talking about it. And unfortunately, what's Jesse on Fire? I like him. I was watching his videos earlier. But I'm talking about the humanity portion of a lot of this stuff and the people around it. I'm bringing these out and I'm exposing these people, the cowards, those that were too chicken shit to say anything to try to do is alive, but now that he's dead, they want to do cartwheels and pretend they're doing something. You're not. Your entire community is literally killing itself every single day, but you want to laugh at Charlie? Get a life. Doesn't make any sense. This kid was an embarrassment to Oxford. Charlie Kirk did Oxford justice that day. He was a stand-up guy. Yeah, this, and the alumni around the world knows this. They want him gone, or they're going to stop paying their dues and they're going to stop feeding money in. And that kid isn't worth a penny. Like and subscribe, share the video. Right Wing Rico, the single boyfriend. I'll be back on with another live in about 15 minutes. We have other topics, and I'll put them right here on the screen. I have other topics to choose from. So I'll see you guys again shortly. Thank you very much.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.